Welcome back, guys, to another edition of the complete tuning guide of the Elite Ritual Bow. It's time to set up the D-loop now, and I have this bow set up here with 4 different loops. I don't know if you can see that there with the background, but I've got 4 different kinds of loops set up on this particular bow. And we're going to discuss each and every one of them. And I'm also going to show you how I'm going to set this up on my bow personally. But I want to explore some of the different options for you to be able to tune your bow the best that you can tune it for you and how you like for it to feel. So let's get started. Alright, so I have 4 different kinds of loops tied here. The top one is the one we see most, and most archery shops do this one. And basically all it is, it's a lark's head knot. Every one of these loops are actually a lark's head knot that I've tied. Now there are other knots that you can use, but this is the one we see the most of. And anyway, the top loop is set up to where it's just a knot above, a knot below, and the knot goes right in between. Now, something I suggest doing is when you set this up, make sure you set it up where there's a little bit of gap. See how this knock has some play in it? And the reason why is when you draw the bow back, things tighten up a little bit, and if there's not any gap whatsoever at all, your knock is going to be pinched by that loop, and that's not a good thing. That can cause problems with tuning. It can cause problems with keeping your arrow on the rest. Most of these setups that we're talking about here are probably going to be setting up hunting rigs, so it's not as big a deal with, say, like a Whisker Biscuit arrow rest or even a drop away, a total contain sort of drop away arrow rest. But if you're using a lizard tongue or anything, doing some target shooting, you can have issues keeping your arrow on the arrow rest because your loop is either too tight or pinching the knock in some way, whether it be how you have your loop tied or the serving's too tight or something along those lines. But this next loop down below, this is how I'm going to set up my loop on my Ritual. I really like this. It's a one tie knot down below with the serving material, basically like a knocking point. And what that does is that creates a barrier on this bottom side of the loop. When you draw a bow back, most of the tension is actually on the bottom part of the loop. Now it pulls on the top as well, but the bottom definitely gets more tension. So what happens is as you're drawing the bow back, this bottom part of the loop is pulling up on the knock. And so if you have this little tie knot here, it creates a barrier there that the loop itself stays off of the knock, so it won't pinch the knock. And I like that too, because if I need to change this loop out, I have a knocking point here that's already located where I want the loop to go back on. Now the next one we have here, again, it's another split loop just like all 3 of these, but it has a knot below and a knot above. We see a lot of these on the target ranges on tournament archery. And basically what that does, it does what I was saying this does, but it just adds the extra element on the top side of allowing a perfect knocking point every time. So you have a knock point above and below, and that creates space basically for your knock to be able to relax here on the string where it's not so tight. And the last one down here on the bottom is one we don't see very much of, but myself, I actually use this a lot. This is a loop under where the knock actually goes directly above it. When you use a loop like this, one thing you want to make sure of is that you have a knock for your arrow that has a long ear on it. You definitely don't want to use a short-eared knock, one that would snap and just go like that, because what happens is when you come to full draw, your arrow is going to be angled, so you have to have some ear length on that knock to be able to support the arrow. So this can help with tuning issues sometimes, especially if you're getting high tears and you're trying to just figure those things out. That has helped me before in the past. I like this loop system for one major reason. If I have to change this out, I can change it out in the middle of the tournament, and I can guarantee you that I'm going to hit the same spot when I change it out. I've not had that kind of luck and success changing out these kind of loops up here where I'm 100% confident that I could change it out during a tournament and actually hit the same spot. But this one down here, I know I can because I've done it and it's pretty impressive. And I like that part of this because it makes archery more simple for me. Although, like I said, it can create its own tuning issues as well. But these are the 4 basic nocks. There are some other knots that you can tie for the loop, but these are all lark's head knots. I'm not saying that one is better than the other. I'm just saying this is the way we see it done mostly. And here's 4 options for you to be able to tie. Hopefully you can see those all really good on there. But I'm going to install this type of system on my Ritual. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is you want to set up your arrow rest where you have some adjustment up and down. And I put the arrow on here basically where it runs through the center of the burger hole. And that's a good starting point, and I want my arrow level, 90 degrees with the string. So that's where I'm going to start, and then I'm going to tie my little tie knot right here underneath this nock. That way I can put my loop on from there. Alright, first I'm going to start off with some BCY 3D material. This is what I like to use for my tie knot. It's very soft around the nock, and I like that. So I usually take about 10 to 12 inches of string material. I start with that. And so here's how I tie this. I wrap this around the string all the way up to the top. Just overhand knot, one right there. Then I go around the bottom, do another one, around the top. These are just overhand knots. Go in the same direction with the knot every time so it looks clean. I do about 6. So this will be 6 right here. Then I finish that with a square knot, so I just go the opposite direction with my loop. Tie that off. Now that I got it in the right spot, I'll take the arrow off. I'll take a lighter and burn that serving material off where it makes just a nice little knot. So there's my nocking point that's basically under my nock. And then I'll put my loop right on top of that. Alright, I use about a 4-inch loop, or the material itself is about 4 inches. And I like to use a material made by BCY. It's called number 23. It's very, very flexible and super, super tough. I use that for target, for tournaments, for everything. So I'll tie my first lark's head knot down here on the bottom. Get it right up against the, that nocking point. Now I usually leave my nock on here as I start this knot so I can see where it needs to go. And then once I get it where it needs to go, I'll pull it off, because like I said, I like a little bit of gap. And what I'm doing here is I'm pressing the top and bottom of this material together on this loop, top to bottom right here. That way it doesn't flare out, it stays tight together. And so when I go to tighten it up on there, it basically gives me the right amount of space. So see how much space I have in there right now? So I'm going to use my Viper pliers. And I'm not going to do this really, really tight. I just want to snug it on there because I still have to put my peep in. And that can create a whole nother issue. So I want to just snug this down. Again, I'm not pulling that super tight. It's just snug so I can still get this off with my fingers if I need to. And then snap that loop on there, or snap the nock on there. And that's about how much play I have in my nock. And I think that'll be just about perfect. So. Alright, so there's like probably 5 million videos on how to tie a lark's head knot, but if I don't do it, I feel like I'm leaving something out here. So we're briefly going to go over how to tie this knot. Again, this is just a little nice drawing that I have here on the board. Here's your serving, this is the bowstring. The knot is here and there. The burr knot is facing out this direction here, and this one will be going the other direction. So what you do is when you lay the string down, this particular burr knot is facing this direction, so I'm going to start the string, the loop material, on the back side of the string, the bowstring, wrap it around, go around the loop like this, and then bring it back to the front side of the string, back over and up. And you do the exact same thing on the top, just in the opposite manner. So you can see that this is laying on this side, the front side of the string. It goes around the bowstring, back and around, down, back over. Wow, I hope I didn't get you dizzy or confused, because I may be a little bit dizzy and confused myself, but that's the way that works. It's pretty simple. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of different drawings and diagrams out there on how to tie a lark's head knot. All right, so I got the loop on the string now. I set it up like this one, and it's ready to go. I'm going to have to do some tuning with the bow obviously later, but this should be a very good start. I got to put peep side in next, and that can be kind of tricky and difficult. I've done some videos in the past on that, so we might actually link up to that video as well. But that's the next thing to come, is putting the peep side in and getting started on how to establish your anchor point and that sort of thing. Guys, I think you should get out and give this ritual a try. It is a super impressive bow. It's not a little bitty pocket bow. It's a 33-inch axle bow. I've had a lot of friends talking to me about some accuracy issues they've been having with some of the shorter bows. And this bow is ridiculously stable, got great let off, a good feel, very tunable. So if you haven't shot the ritual, I'm telling you, get out to your local dealer and give it a try, honor the ritual, and join the movement.